President did tell us that we are doing well. But then I want to say that you don't tell people that they are doing well. You cannot go and tell your neighbor you're doing well. The neighbor must be able to feel it. You know, parents are unable to put food on the table. Parents are unable to take their children to school and pay school fees. Unemployment is at an all-time high. I don't know how then you can tell us that we are doing better. And the reason we are unable to feed our families, Madam Speaker, is because we have less disposable income. Because in the 3 years that this regime has been in power, salaries of Kenyans have gone down 6 times. 6 times. So we have less disposable income. We are unable to feed our people. But then we are being told here that we are doing better, the country is doing better, we are much better off. It's very unfortunate. Now, the only thing I can say, I can give this regime is that they're very good at cash handouts. They've been going all over the place. I don't know, public empowerment. In campaigns, we are seeing them dishing out, handouts. But you cannot develop a country, you cannot move a country to the first world with cash handouts. Now, I want to go specific to the issues that are supposed to be addressed by the president. On the values and principles of good governance, that is Article 10. And I'll start with one, which is transparency and accountability. The president did cite Singapore. The reason Singapore has reached where it has is because of integrity. It's because of transparency. It's because of accountability. I don't know whether this regime is being run in those terms. Madam Speaker, I want to point out that Singapore is corruption-free. Is Kenya corruption-free? I will not even bother to answer that question. Every Kenyan knows. Now, you cannot begin to tell us we are going to be like Singapore when corruption is the order of the day. Madam Speaker, in terms of transparency, you know that the law is very clear about borrowing. The public debt must also be contained and controlled by this House. But this regime, Madam Speaker, has been borrowing and has been borrowing from under our noses. And members are aware, but they ignore. Because when you hear something called securitization, Madam Speaker, for all intents and purposes, the last time I had the majority leader challenge me, I want to challenge him to read the definition. And the word loan is actually used to define securitization because you're taking money in advance for road maintenance levy fund. The money that people will pay fuel 10 years from now is already being spent now. That is a loan. So I want to say that this is not transparent. We are borrowing beyond what we should borrow because we are hiding. Now, Madam Speaker, the second one is public participation. You know that's a value that this country must, as espoused in the values and principles. Public participation, whenever we are passing any law, we are supposed to go to the public. You remember when we were passing the finance bill, Kenyans said no to so many things. When an impeachment motion was brought here against the former deputy president, Kenyans said so much. But this regime ignored, and members of this House also ignored what people said. That is what is supposed to be respected. Human dignity, Madam Speaker, is one of the values. How can you say we have human dignity when you see what happened? New York Times did give a report that Kenyans are actually being traded as slaves out there. And it is benefiting a few individuals. And you're telling us we're going to first world? How do you go to first world when your citizens are slaves in other people's countries? Madam Speaker, the issue of human rights is also another value. How can we say we are respecting human rights? And the president didn't even talk about it. How many Kenyans were killed in 2023, 2024? How many young Kenyans were shot? The president himself gave orders. Shoot on the leg. And you're saying we are respecting human rights? I'm talking about the values that are here, that are espoused in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Madam Speaker, the issue of regional balance.
The issue of securitization, despite the Kenyans criticizing this issue of securitization, Madam Speaker, but it is really working because the contractors are now back to the roads because of that securitization. Madam Speaker.
Vision is within what the president is bringing. We agreed in Vision 2030 that we shall have affordable housing. In fact, 200,000 houses. And so if the president has tried his best to bring it to where it is, then there's why we say we critique saying this is happening, and we critique to tell the president this is not happening. But for now, it is happening. We have infrastructure. He has tried to now think through and say, let us securitize and have our own fund, which will support us. That's the promises we did in Vision 2030. He has to come up now with a task team, Madam Speaker, that will look at what have we achieved in Vision 2030 and what are we moving forward to Vision 2063 or Vision 2070. And so start that task force so that by Vision, when we come to the year 2030, we are able to say we have a blueprint that moves us forward. That is what we've done in the UN when we were doing the Millennium Development Goals, Madam Speaker. We moved with the SDGs. And so it is a matter of ourselves as a country to say we need a task force. The task force will tick and critique the boxes of what we have achieved, what we have not achieved, and move. Lastly, Madam Speaker, in all this, we talk of corruption. And when we talk of corruption, I realize all of us Kenyans forget that we are the ones in the different sectors that are doing this work. We are the ones in the different sectors, not just the president alone, all of us as Kenyans, Madam Speaker, that we find ourselves in a situation where we must stand and reflect and ask yourself, when I'm given public resources, how do I use it? How do I misuse it? How do I look for 10%? How do I look for entrepreneurs? Because Kenyans just point fingers at one direction, but they are the businessmen in the government. They are the ones doing all the businesses that we have. Why can't they also stop and say, no, for once now we are not going to do this corruption business, but we are going to do the right thing. And even if it's not that, Madam Speaker, I won't say the name, but Madam Speaker, there was a place where somebody supplied furniture, and I can see the Auditor General has now questioned, and even the staff have been now sent home. Yet this is a very, 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 very senior person. And I think it is wrong. As I finalize, Madam Speaker, anyone who does business in government, do the right business and don't put also staff into challenges. I beg to support.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, and the time being 1 minute to 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 26th of November, 2025 at 2:30 p.m.